Hey, welcome all. Lance and I love doing this, and I think you're going to enjoy what we've put together. Lance, if you don't know, former deputy director of the SBA Commercial Loan Center out of Little Rock, spent a lot of time with SBA, a longtime SBA lender. He knows his stuff, and he really puts a lot of effort and a lot of passion into it. So Lance, we've been doing this for how long now? Are we pushing 3 years?
Well, Joseph and I were looking at this before we started this meet and greet. We started the SBA certification courses in 2014 with the SBA closer course in the fall of 14. And it's just grown and it's gotten better. And, Bob, it's something I really love because it's made to allow a participant banker to improve their skill set in SBA lending, but to improve it at their own pace.
Well, let's go through some of the logistics. First of all, Joseph, why don't you hop on real quick so people can see you. Has everyone received the logistics of how to access the course?
No, they're going to get it later today with detailed instructions on how to access the Litmos course.
If you have any issues at all, there's the address. Shoot an email over to Joseph, pick up the phone and talk to him, and we'll walk you through it. One of the things that we've done in structuring this course is this event, the meet and greet, as well as the Cone Report Live, where you have the ability to ask questions. When Lance and I started this, we were concerned we did not have a component where we interact with you. So that's why Lance is extremely responsive with questions. And hey, if you have a question that isn't about loan closing, well, he will address that as well. Obviously, loan packaging and that whole mess is being discussed right now. So this is our function. We originally called it office hours. Now we've renamed it to live. But in that live session is we will address your questions and we'll touch briefly on what some of the takeaways are. So there's your contact information. We know sometimes this can be intimidating. For those of you who are new, we love to ask polls. And by the way, let me address that right now. Litmos, which is our platform, changed the way that we could ask quizzes. And so we ask quizzes. Unfortunately, that just changed a couple months ago. So Lance and I every now and then say, hey, take the quiz. The quizzes now will be done at the end of the week. How we do this is each session is about an hour, but we break it up in 8 to 10-minute bite-sized sessions. Solves my ADD. It makes us more focused on that. And also it doesn't, it's intimidating to say, oh, I have to sit through this for an hour. You can do it 8, 12 minutes. You can repeat it. That's the way we've structured it. You have access to the entire course. Don't be too concerned if you fall behind. We purposely do this by week 1, week 2 to keep you on track. But if something comes up, we had that great question from Alexa. We repeat these every quarter. So that's it. But so our first poll question is, how are you going to access the material?
Well, the fun response on this one, Bob, is, as we all know, our friend Paul, who's taken a number of courses, sometimes accesses our courses via smartphone.
Can you pull that picture up for him real quick, Joseph? Can we put that in? Okay, work computer. Hey, Michael, I also need the plaque. I want to show everyone the plaque. Very good. You can access it through any of those mediums, but the computer is great. I was a lender, broker during the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. And Lance, I'd love to ask this question. Why is that, Lance?
Well, Bob, it was certainly a challenging period, and I think it becomes really relevant in today's banking atmosphere. There are a lot of prognosticators who are saying that we could be heading toward a recession in the next 12 to 24 months.
Lance and I are not predicting that. There will be another recession. We're not going to say when. We're not going to tell you that. But what that means is obviously portfolios will be stressed. Underwriting boxes should be constricted. So we spend time on those macroeconomic issues. Lance, in my course, I talk about when I was a junior lender, and I love those responses. None of you were there. That's why we love doing this. When I was a freshly minted commercial loan officer, Lance, it was 1980. And guess what prime rate was when I started underwriting loans?
22.0.
22 and a half. And I always bring that up when you're underwriting these loans, plug in prime plus 22 and a half and see what that does to your cash.
See how many debt cover. That's one of the things about the closers, and many of you are in the closer certification course. If you do your job well, I've spent a lot of my life working on the liquidation side. If you do your job well, and we do hit a recession, and we do have SBA loans that need to be liquidated, that process will be incredibly easier, and getting the guarantee paid will be significantly more fluid if you, as an SBA loan closer, do your job well.
And the closer is absolutely critical function. That's why you're here. My analogy is very simple. Is the BDO, I use, my degree is in real estate finance. I use the real estate development analogy for SBA lending. And what is that? The business development officer, they're the bird dog. They go out there, they acquire the property. They say, hey, I think that would be a pretty cool piece of land to build something. And they get the idea, and they bring it to the underwriter. Well, the underwriter is the architect, and the architect then builds out the specs in the plans to build this asset. The closer, Lance, is the on-the-ground contractor who's building this asset for the bank. They take what the underwriter's plans are, and they are actually creating an asset for the bank. It's critical that that's done. Then to finish it up, then I say the servicer is the property, the facilities manager, and they make sure the rent's collected and everything's paid, and they paint the walls. And if there's a disaster, if there's a hurricane, if there's a fire, the liquidator collects the insurance proceeds and cleans up the mess. Lance, what do you think of that analogy?
Well, I think it's pretty close to right, Bob. The closer is absolutely, they're the construction company that's building that SBA loan, and doing it properly, again, makes every other aspect of servicing and liquidation easier. And it makes we all get involved in SBA lending because we rely on the SBA guarantee. If a closer does their job well, you will get paid on the guarantee.
Yeah. And Lance is very good about teaching you that, hey, don't be bullied, don't be intimidated. There's certain stuff you cannot waive, and don't have someone tell you, I don't care what their title is, don't worry about that. We don't need that document. That's where you get to stand up and say, no, we can't do this. Or if you do it, we don't have an SBA guarantee, which is not a pleasant conversation if you're an SBA department manager and you're hauled before your credit committee, your president, your board of directors.
Yep, that's exactly right.
How many years do you have experience in SBA lending? And by the way, we didn't touch on that, Lance, but every time we do this training, we see that number going down. I think this is the first time that we have no one who was a lender 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's, I think it's good to have a group that is fresh with SBA lending, because
Wow.
the opportunity to enhance your skill set is absolutely there. Bob, there's not many people that's been involved in SBA lending as long as you and I have.
And it's we're glad you're taking this, and you can learn from our mistakes. Lance and I have probably made every possible
Quite a
mistake.
few.
There's a reason. Well, my claim to fame is I haven't made a bad loan in 20 years. But when I was making loans, I sure made a lot of bad restaurant loans. A ton of them.
Well,
Lance, go through the format. Tell everyone what we do.
Well, there's a lecture part of the class. It's a short 15-minute video segment on a particular topic. In the closer class is primarily quizzes. There are reading assignments that are attached to the lecture. There are some homework assignments. And then on Thursday at noon every week, we have a live session where Bob and I respond to questions related to SBA lending. And the thing that's great about the Thursday session, guys, is you can ask your SBA questions about closing, underwriting. If you get involved in servicing or liquidation, you can ask those as well. If you participate in the Thursday sessions at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, not only will you learn about your area of the SBA lending process, but other areas as well.
We made a strategic decision to change that a couple of years ago. We had simply an underwriter function, a closing, a liquidation. We said, let's just put it all together because underwriters need to know the stresses of collecting a loan and closing a loan, and the closers need to know what challenges a servicer and a liquidator has in their when they take that file and work the work product.
Well, and you'll be online with hundreds of bankers throughout the United States. There are bankers in almost all 50 states that participate, ask questions. We're not afraid to answer those questions. So that's an integral part of this class. And the final comment I want to make, the quizzes are not intended to, I'm not trying to trick you. It's just to reinforce the materials. So don't get too excited about the quizzes. There are questions that we talk about during the sessions that you're going to listen to.
Look, this is very user-friendly. This is not a college course. We purposely make this extremely focused on what you need to do your job. Now, I give a little background. I know Lance does too, and we've both taught at the college level. But we are committed to give you the tools to make you, as we say, an SBA lending professional. It's going to enhance your value to your institution. It's going to enhance your personal value to have these skill sets. So we're committed to that. Go ahead, Lance.
One final thing, Bob, and you mentioned this earlier. As you go through the course, if you have a question, just send an email to Lance at ColemanReport.com or send it to Joseph or Bob. I think that's one of the great values of this course. You can ask a question about anything, and I'm going to respond.
Lance is very good about that. Hey, this is what it's going to look like for you on an average week. We say about 8 hours a week. There we say 4 to 5 hours. And that's a good number. The video is going to take an hour. If you want to replay it, we say 1 to 2 hours. The office hour session is part of that. Now it's Coleman Report Live on Eastern, 1 o'clock on Thursdays. We do have reading. I do a lot of Inspector General reports. I think that's important to give you a sense of why SBA emphasizes certain things. And then we have homework. Lance, I have fun homework assignments. One of them is drive up and down your local main street and estimate property values, estimate sales. What do you think the sales are of that local Subway franchise, the McDonald's, the Bridgestone Tire, and start thinking in those terms of what is happening around your main street.
Well, an assignment like that is so fun, Bob, because you can't just look at, I was looking at a Sonic loan the other day, and I've done about 20 Sonic loans in my lifetime, and the guy handed me his financial statement, and given 31 years of SBA lending, I almost fell out of my chair. It was one of the best performing Sonics I've ever seen. It was in a small town. So you trying to figure out how well a small business is doing in a particular location is a great exercise.
Yeah, and that's what our homework is, and you can upload those. And again, I don't grade them. This is for you to start thinking in those terms. And there's our Coleman Report Live session. And let's see what else we got. Weekly, those are the ways to send the questions. This is the goal. Well, the first goal is to obviously train you, but at the end of it, we're going to send you a nice plaque. And that's...
Hey, Bob, I want to show the guys the closer course recently won a national award from SIPA. Pretty cool deal.
Yeah, that's my trade association, Specialized Publishers, and best online training course. So, who else was involved with that?
Well, there was somebody from CNBC, and I mean, they were very impressive competitors. Bob.
Yeah, how to train emergency room physicians. So this was very congratulations, well deserved. And the final is you can take the final exam. It's go back to that, Joseph, 90%, but it's open book. You can take it as many times as you want. This is not a gotcha. Or you can write I have 2 case studies. I have a dry cleaning case study of a business acquisition, and then I have a manufacturing facility of they need to move and they need to buy a building. So it's hands-on stuff, and we ask you to attend the office hours. If the Cone Report live session, we need to change all that, Joseph. We just changed our name about 2-3 weeks ago, so that's why I'm stumbling over that all the time. It's recorded, it's uploaded, so if you're Paul and you're on the golf course where he's watching his iPhone. Joseph, did you find that picture? Are we going to be able to put that in? Yeah, Joseph's looking for it. If not, you know what? We'll put it in next week at our live session. Let's go through the loan closer. Tell us what the weeks are, Lance.
Well, there's 8 weeks. First week, we're going to talk about eligibility. Of course, SBA eligibility is critically important because if the loan's not eligible, you won't get paid on the guarantee. And I always get tickled, Bob. I'll get a question, how could they make a loan that's not eligible? Well, as a delegated lender, you have the ability to approve your own SBA loan. So it's very possible you can make a loan that's not eligible. Week 2, we talk about the SBA loan authorization, which is so critical in properly closing the SBA loan and is probably one of the most important documents when going through the liquidation and getting the guarantee paid. We talk about generation of the SBA Form 1920 and the certifications that are included with that. And the 1920 is our lender's form. A critically important topic in week 4 is equity injection, proper documentation and verification of equity injection. Week 5, we're going to talk about generating a variety of SBA loan docs. We continue in week 6 with documents. Week 7, we're going to talk about how to properly disperse a loan. And then week 8 is a fun week where we're talking about some miscellaneous, transferring the loan to loan servicing, but also we cover some other special topics that SBA loan closers need.
And in my underwriting course, I have a degree, undergraduate degree in medieval history, so I like to put things into historical context. So I talk about the history of the SBA. For your loan closers, started by General Eisenhower, who grew up in Abilene, Kansas, grew up on a local main street. And when he was general in World War II in charge of all the commanding armies, he wanted to make sure Main Street got the appropriate slice of munition contracts. And when he became president, he pushed through SBA to support Main Street and small business. So I think that's important to understand in historical context. I talk about the importance of the underwriter being the architect. Now, this is not a Credit 101 course. I give you a basic overflow of income and balance sheet. You can take that particular part of it, and that's a 10, 12-week course. If you have deficient knowledge in those areas, I would encourage you to supplement your training with a course on analyzing financial statements. You can do it at a local community college. SCORE, I know you were with SBDCs. They have wonderful training, so take advantage. Yeah. But I give you an overview so you have a flavor of that. For you experienced underwriters, well, you're in the 1 to 3. It may be a little bit too simplistic, but I do that. Calculating global cash flow is key for SBA lending. We spend time on how to do that, how to appropriately calculate the collateral calculations per the SBA way. We talk about specific SBA terms and conditions. And then writing the credit memo. There's 2 credit memos. We write the one for under 350 and the one for over 350. And you may submit that to me in lieu of the final exam. It's a fun process. We have 2 case studies, Franklin Brothers and Gray's Dry Cleaning. And it was a fun class to put together and to present.
Absolutely.
Well, very good. There we go. That's Lance. That's you and I on the iPhone as Paul is out there on the golf course for a charity event.
Well, I think the thing that this goes to show is you can access this course anywhere you are. If you're on a bank trip, if you're in a hotel somewhere, or if you're on the golf course, you can still get your certification training.
and everything's recorded. If you don't want to be ADD like Paul, you can certainly go ahead and view it at your leisure. Please reach out for your questions, and that's how to get a hold of all of us, and enjoy the course. Thank you very much.
Guys, look forward to it. Thank you.